Hi, I'm Mike Kennedy. Starting a fire to boil water is the standard idea of the gold standard of you've got water that's unsafe, you bring it to a boil for a minute and cool it down and you can drink it. Great, or not so great. You know, you see something like Dave Canterbury's 10 C's, what you assemble this kit that you can have with you to go and just experience the wilderness in bushcrafting, or having these as a backup to some emergency situation. Ways to start fires are, friction fire, flint and steel, matches, a lighter. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. And having that option is good, but in reality, you really can't use it that often, at least where I live. And that's because of fire danger. And we've seen this being repeated over and over on different people's channels, but in news items you read and everything is you have the person that starts a fire and the fire escapes from them and causes a forest fire and burns acres and acres of forest. And, if you're out there and it's not some absolute emergency situation and you start a forest fire, you're going to have to pay for it. And you can't possibly pay for a forest fire. But they will assess you some of the cost. And then even in an emergency situation, some people have created a dangerous situation with the fire, and that's gone on to create a major forest fire in one case. One of the bushcraft schools I had, I think this was last year, I was looking at one of the videos that they had, and they were talking about they no longer teach signal fires because signal fires are too easy to lose control of and spread and burn down trees. And, from a preservation of your own life point of view is you don't want to be in an area, you're kind of stuck in an area. So you're going to start a fire so you can boil your water, and then you're going to set the forest on fire, and you're going to die from smoke inhalation or, God forbid, actually, being burned alive until you're dead. So it just seems to be that more and more anyone that's doing something like this has to have a non-fire option of getting drinking water, whether it's for emergency use or whether it's, camping or, doing this bushcraft type experience. And one of the ways to do this is with some type of super filtration. So you have a device like this, it has a bunch of filter material in here. And basically what happens, you take the end off here, stick this in the water, and draw the water up through your mouth. And this filter is so fine that it can even filter out the things like Giardia, Cryptosporidium, and different things like that. Now you can look at the ratings on filters and see, and they'll rate them and tell you what they're good for. But really for, a more realistic, emergency or camping or bushcraft kit, every kit should have something like this. Now, this is the Life Straw. I don't have right with me right now the Sawyer system. And I'm sure that these people probably do it too. But the Sawyer system has like a bag so that you can carry the water with you, or you can collapse the bag and force the water out. And why is that important? Well, some people are going to have a lot of trouble trying to draw water through the straw. And you have animals too. Say you have your dog with you. You can't use this. Dogs can't do that. And it is true that they can drink water that we can't. You still might want to be careful because you don't want to get your dog sick. And so with the Sawyer system, with a bag, or like I say, they may have the bag system here too. And some of the systems will mate directly onto a canteen or water bottle or whatever. You can fill the water bottle with the bad water, and you can actually squeeze the tube, or some work by gravity, and it will filter through, and you collect the clean water. And in that way, if you have someone who has an impairment where they can't use one of these, or you have an animal that's impossible for them to use, they could, you could collect the water and then use it. Now, one of the things that's very important with these, and you don't see people talking about it much, but it's called backwashing. In other words, normally you're going to use this, and the particles and everything are going in, and they're getting trapped somewhere in this filter medium. Well, the more you trap, the more clogged the filter is. The more clogged filter is, the harder it is to draw out through it. Well, what's the solution to that? This little diagram tells you. It's called backwashing. So in other words, with this particular one, it suggests you're blowing through it, and that air is going to create some of the, make those particles go back out of the filter. The Sawyer system, again, having that bag with you facilitates that in some regards, but they even include a plunger, a thing that looks like a syringe, where you actually take some of the water that is good, and you take it in and you push it in, that the force of your hand, the syringe, and that forces more material out and makes the filter better to run again. And actually with that one, there's a protocol where you hit it a few times and you do it again, and that dislodges more. And there have been people that have been using Sawyer filters successfully, the same filter, for many years. In this video I've seen about getting clean water for people in areas where there isn't clean water, they've established this program where these women, they equip them with basically with a filter, a Sawyer filter, some of the apparatus that goes with it, and a 5-gallon pail. And basically what they do is they provide water for themselves and a couple more families. And one of the things that's so important with this is that idea of backwashing. In other words, there's a lot of particulate matter that's going to get trapped in devices like this that really isn't, horrible to drink. But if you let those through, as big as they are, you're going to be letting through all the things you don't want let through. So the idea is the life of your filter can be greatly extended by backwashing, by forcing liquid or air through the opposite direction. And you just got to make sure that the water that you're shooting in through is clean water, another water that's successfully gone through a filter already. But I don't know, it just seems, then we have, the chemical tablets you can use. You can take potassium permanganate with you. You can take chlorine with you. You can have different pills that use either chlorine dioxide, or iodine, or something to make that water safer to drink. And just like I say, in today's world, at least in the United States, you want to be really careful about making a decision to start a fire, because it just goes wrong for so many people, and you don't want it going wrong for the chance that you may actually be hurt in the fire event you've created. But also, if you're not hurt and you get out of the situation and you've created a forest fire, I don't think your life is going to be very pleasant after that for a while, or maybe a long while. So think of that. Think of, if you're doing something with a survival kit or bushcrafting, that you have something, Life Straw, Sawyer system, filter system. There are other companies that do it, but look and see what they're rated for. In other words, it really should take out Cryptosporidium. That's one of the smaller things. And they form these little cysts that are very hard for chemical means boiling will kill them, but it's very hard for chemicals to get at that. Usually you have to use chlorine dioxide, and the water has to sit for an extremely long time, like 4 hours, to ensure that that's killed. And you can look at it as the idea here in the U.S., I guess, is that, chances are any pathogen you pick up from the water is going to be easily treated later when you are back in civilization again. So sometimes you would have to make a decision to drink unpurified water to stay alive, to hydrate. And there's so many things that can go wrong once you become dehydrated. One of them first is your judgment starts being impaired. And once your judgment is impaired, you could be doing all kinds of crazy things. One of the things that seems like I've seen a number of times, they're talking about a situation where someone gets dehydrated, their brain is no longer functioning, and they have a map and a compass, and they somehow become convinced that the compass is pointing the exact wrong direction. So when it's pointing north in this, dehydrated state you are in, you think it's pointing south, and you end up going the exact wrong direction. So you can make all kinds of bad decisions when you're dehydrated. So think about that. Comment below if you have some kind of kit. It's great. You have something to start a fire with. You get something in a container, single-walled metal container or a cup that you could boil water in. But realistically, any kit should have some other, especially I think one of these straws or the Sawyer system, should have something like this that you can just pick up and use, and you get no problems. I recently read a story, well, again, this was last year, I guess, about this couple that somehow got into a situation that they couldn't get out of, and they were there for 3 or 4 days, and this is what kept them alive. They had one of these in the car, so I think it was a man and his wife, so they were able to keep hydrated and stay healthy for those 3 days because they had something like this. Tell me what you think. Bye.